This is a ManeHustle Media Podcast. ManeHustle Media Podcasts are recorded on the ancestral lands of the Chumash, Tongva, Hohokam, and Yucateco Maya people, and we wish to pay our respects to the people of those nations, both past and present. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Queer Femmes Podcast, a travel podcast from a couple of queer femmes, providing tips and resources for traveling safely while Black, brown, queer, disabled, and any other marginalized and or intersections in between. I am your senior tia, Sharmane Fury, joined by my co-host.
You're still your loving noob, Shae Nahnigans, and this is mi esposa.
Esposo. It's staying in. It's staying in.
Esposo.
Esposo.
Tú es mi esposa.
That's okay. Jeff.
And you're my podcast esposa.
That's true.
Yes.
Very true.
See.
Very true.
We are back for our second installment of Vida in Mérida.
Mm-hmm.
This one is about the observations of what we've experienced since we've been here. Mm-hmm. Just to recap from last episode, we did talk about our travel day, our first travel day here in Mérida, and a couple of the little things that we have seen while we've been here. Today, we're actually going to get into the observations of really only being here for 1 week so far.
Right.
Amazing, decolonizing mindset, all kinds of stuff that has been popping up, and unlearning the stuff that people have been telling us about don't go to Mexico and what Mexico's not safe and stuff like that. Every day there's some version of that going on. Who wants to go first? Do we want to jump in? Like Jeff go first?
We're going to talk about 5 observations.
5 observations each that we kind of have, if we have 5.
Yes.
I think we'll have.
He has some, I have some, and you know what? You have some, and we might overlap. So if we overlap, we should say, hey, I had that one too.
Sure.
You think? Okay. All right. So Jeff, this one's yours.
I got to lean this way.
I get it. We're going to go in here like this. Correct. So I have my observation is that you literally have to ask for the bill at a restaurant. They don't rush you like they do in America.
So this is counter to everything that being an American in a public eating situation is go we are. So I've had doses of this because I have an international family. My husband's biological father is Middle Eastern, and when we've gone out to dinner, depending on which sides of my family or his biological father, meals are times for fellowship, socializing. Mm-hmm. You are not trying to eat and go. And so you'll find that in American restaurants, when we're with those sides of the family, the waiters will keep coming up trying to close out the bill.
And they'll leave the thing on the table.
Yeah. And whereas my father-in-law would be add another cup crab cake, just to get them to go away from the table and to allow us to keep sitting at that table. And the American waiter at that time is thinking, I'm losing money because you're not moving. Whereas everywhere else in the world, almost, a meal is an experience. It's a time to fellowship and stuff like that. So for me, I'm noticing, I don't know if you guys are experiencing, there's moments where I'm just I know we're supposed to ask for the bill, but should we be should we go? Yeah. And
same.
I'm working on
just relaxing.
Yes. That's
and enjoying and finishing my drink. So that was my first observation. The other one,
are you feeling weird about sitting there that long?
No.
You're
really.
Pretty chill generally.
I go with the flow. I would just add that mindset is universal here. It's not the medium restaurant that everybody chills at. It's the 5-star hotel, 3-course setting. They don't care. Or you're at the Union Tacos that's not even on the map for some reason.
Right.
Hole in the wall shop. And it
your
only
Uber
has 4 tables.
Right. Yeah.
People will just stand outside and just have a conversation while they wait for a table to open up.
Yeah.
And so we did have a moment, I think this morning, we went to a place that was popular and small. And when we got there, it looked packed. So we walked back outside because we're we don't know what to do. Do we wait? So I was ready to sit outside. There's a bench outside. I was ready to sit outside and wait for people to leave. But then the waiter comes out and he's like,
What are you doing?
What y'all want? Yeah. And we're just, 3 people. And he's like, we can put you at the bar. great. We couldn't see the bar from where we were at, so
I just assumed
we
it was
didn't know.
the restaurant,
but that feeling of just like, oh shit, we got to go somewhere else. Where
I'm just so used to like being an inconvenience.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Being an inconvenience. And also, I waited tables and managed restaurants in the United States in the past. It's very different.
Yeah. So last night we went to this Geek Burger Cafe, which literally did have just 2 or 3 tables in it. We were the only family or group of people that were there the whole time. But just like you said, they didn't try to rush us out. They were,
a very lovely staff.
There's also like, they don't necessarily come and check on you too often. They really do just try to.
Yeah, they leave you alone.
Yeah, they leave you alone, but it doesn't feel like you're being abandoned.
No.
Because they're looking kind of generally in your direction. So that, because every time I wanted to do flag someone, I could flag somebody.
Yeah.
And again, same with the nicer, more fancy place that we went to, all the way down to the mom and pops and the mediums. We're having the same experience every time. So for me, I think my test will be, as I continue on here, calming the fuck down and just having the experience. Yeah. And I would be curious to see, like, by the time you guys come back to visit, how chill I am.
Yeah, and how you're like, come.
Because that's what I hope that I get here. That releasing that time as a construct thing that I have such a strong problem with. That you might have seen me stress out with a little bit like this.
Yes. No, I'm the same way. I run my own business. I have to be boom, 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 boom. I don't get nothing done. So I totally get it.
So another thing that I would add to that is when you look at like the staff, when you're in like the United States or even other countries that I've been to, when you're in a high class hotel, you expect a certain type of etiquette from the staff. If I go to a 5-star resort, I expect the waiter standing there with the towel on his arm, watching the room to see if anybody has the slightest need. You will find that here at the 4-table
at the small
bar.
Pop,
you will find the chef, like this morning. I ordered a kid's meal. I want scrambled eggs, bacon, and I can't eat a lot. I'm feeling a little off.
We're both having some tum adjustments.
And there's no pomp and circumstance. There's no spotlight to the kitchen. But I look back there and I see my plate being built, and he is arranging the parsley. Like you just look at his arm, his form, and his hand in the position. This guy is doing it like he's at a 5-star resort.
You felt like you were at like the nicest restaurant in France.
Right. And my plate is just looking like it's $1 million.
The place we went to today, which we will be sharing, we all had an emotional experience by how good it was. But like literally the plating. For something that was less than $50, a meal that was less than $50 for 3 people. And it was just like exquisite. You will see the photos. And
so the other observation I have is supermarkets do not have any pharmacy stuff in it. To include is something as simple as Tylenol.
Yes. So things are very much like
separate.
A bakery for baked goods, a meat shop for meat goods, but like they have a supermarket.
And they'll have a little bit of the food and a little bit of the cheap, but they won't have. I did not see any place to buy Tylenol, Tums, Pepto-Bismol, any of that.
I couldn't even find aloe at the grocery store. So you have to.
You went to Walmart and got.
Walmart has some of those things all in one spot.
We were trying really hard, internets, not to go to Walmart.
Yeah, but if you want to support the local businesses, you've got to diversify your shopping list a bit.
So the experience of this that's closest and relatable to an American audience is that I'm from California. You can get everything in a supermarket.
Right.
In Texas, you can get beer and wine in a supermarket, but you can't get liquor.
Right.
Which I knew and forgot. Right. And I make rum cakes. So I'm looking up and down the aisle and I'm getting frustrated. I'm like, why is it this hard? And I didn't even realize I wasn't seeing other liquor.
Yeah.
And then it took me forever to find a liquor store to go to, because not that they're not all over the place. It's just, I don't have an eye for them, like it's just not my thing. So the frustration of like, if I know, and I make a lot of rum cakes, if I know I have to make a rum cake, I have to get myself into this frame of mind that I got to go, across town. So that's like the closest thing that you would experience here in the States.
Right. With that said, there are a million pharmacies, a million supermarkets. Like it's not hard.
It's not hard to get what you need.
To find a location of something. It is hard if you're looking for a particular type of something or brand of something. And the reason why I'm bringing that up, internet, is I have extremely sensitive skin.
Yes.
I had to take a couple days off of doing anything here because I broke out in a rash, which is not uncommon. I don't want to think that this is just a Mexico thing. No, this happens to me wherever the hell I go. And I knew that only certain products, my knee-jerk reaction, I need to find certain products I know they work.
Yeah.
And I was able to find most. Hydrocodone was hydrocortisone. They don't tend to have that here. And if you do, they don't have the same strength if you were to find it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's the thing of like, if it doesn't exist, if the brand or the thing you're familiar with doesn't exist here, make sure you do your Googles so that you can figure out what the equivalent is. So you can go to and take a photo of it. So you can go to
the pharmacy. And then they're like, oh, and then they helped me.
Yeah.
Right.
Even with Spanish not being my strong point or English being their strong point, they were very much able to. And of course, guys, bring your phone, Google Translate, especially when you're talking about something medical, try to be as specific as possible.
Yeah.
And they were able to really help me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the one thing I would add to that is the nice pro of having the store only specialize in certain products is that all of the staff members for that store
are very knowledgeable.
Extremely knowledgeable
Yeah.
of those products.
Yeah.
I went into the pharmacy and said, hey, I need 1% hydrocortisone cream. And he rambled off set in Spanish. I'm like, no comprendo. I don't speak Spanish yet. He's like, and then he goes over, pulls up this product, says hydrocortisone here, and then points to a different ingredient.
Yeah.
It starts with a G, and I'd have to go look it up now.
Right.
And he's like, this is what you need here if you're looking for hydrocortisone.
Yeah.
It's not the, I don't have it. Sorry, you're going to have to go try
Yeah.
another store response that I get at Home Depot when I can't find something I want.
Yeah. We haven't been told no anywhere. We've been told
Go
there,
or
here's the
try
thing.
this instead or anything like that. So
yeah.
so that's that.
And if you look lost in the store,
They will help.
they will come up and try to help
Listen,
you.
We were saying
you
that
don't
in our last
technically
episode.
have to look lost. Like literally people just walk up to you and the first question out of their mouth is, where do you need to be? Or like if you're in a store, what do I need to assist you with?
Or do you need English?
Or do you need English?
Yes.
A lot of people will just switch and say, are you more comfortable in English? And for the most part, I'll say like, I'm trying to learn.
That's why I'm slow.
But they're not stopping me when they're speaking English
Mm-mm.
to me and letting me try my Spanish to them, which has been nice. Everybody's been really cool. There's only been one lady who kind of laughed every time I tried in Spanish. And again, I didn't take it with offense. I just took it as like, you know, you're so cute.
You're so adorable.
You know, like you're trying
You're
so hard to
adorable.
speak Spanish. So like, everybody here has been helpful in a way that almost makes you feel like you're being pranked.
Right.
Being from the United
No,
States.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Like you're like, there's no way you can live in a place where everybody's this nice to you.
Yeah.
And it's something you hear all the time. Like, oh, the people are so friendly. Everybody's very helpful. And you're like, yeah, sure. Fine.
Yeah.
Literally.
They're only, but to be fair, because of the other subjects that we usually talk about on our show, they're usually nice to people like him
Yeah.
or people like me,
Yeah.
not you.
But here,
They're walking straight up to you.
everybody is treated like I'm not. Ooh, am I going to say the sentence? I'm feeling like I'm being treated with the respect of a mediocre white man.
Mhm.
can say it.
Even though I'm a
offended.
fellow brown. Like the funny thing that's happening to me here that isn't happening, that doesn't happen in the US is that Latino people in the US assume I am Latina.
Oh.
Here, they're not assuming that. They're
It's always,
just,
where are you from?
well, not even that. They just start in with English with me.
Yeah.
So they obviously can tell I'm a foreigner.
Yeah.
And it's not the assumption because like in the US, a Latino person will ask me, why don't I speak Spanish?
Right.
And then I'll explain that I'm, negra y japonesa. And then they'll be like, okay. But, it takes that minute for them to realize to like recode my face and them decide I'm not a Latin person.
Right.
Here, I'm not getting the impression that anybody thinks I'm Latin. I'm getting the impression that they can tell I'm an American.
Right.
That's weird to me because I don't have that experience,
Mhm.
in America.
Right. It's not as walkable as I would like.
Fair.
Not saying distance wise, guys. I was just it's
the roads.
It's the roads. The sidewalks are higher. There are, there's a lot of water that comes through here.
I don't know how to say it. Like
cobblestones in some places. Some things are there's a lot of water. There's some damage on the roads, and lots of stuff is uneven. So I would worry for somebody that needs to have a mobility aid of any kind. And a lot of places, if you're in a wheelchair, I don't worried.
We have yet to see a person in a wheelchair. We have seen people with canes.
I have seen people in motorized wheelchairs.
Like the little beep, beep.
Yep.
Okay.
But in that area where we first went out to dinner.
Okay. So what I would say to keep in mind about that, if you're trying to come to Mérida and you have a mobility issue, is that this is the first colonized city.
Yeah.
Like the first city where colonizers settled. So it's over 600 years old,
right?
This city. There are places where it's updated, absolutely. Yes. But in the old part of town, or where the older architecture still exists, you're going to be dealing with like mosaic rock or cobblestone type higher things. So different elevations, holes, divots, potholes, divots.
You'll have concrete. A ditch with a pipe running through it, and then the rest of the concrete instead of a flat surface.
And rather than a flat surface, you'll see these chunk outs in the middle where it's like a step or two down, and then a flat, and then a step or two up. And it's not like it's necessarily for someone to drive through or anything like that. It's just randomly kind of like that.
I'm slowing up. I have some mobility issues, not as nearly as others. You have to be very mindful.
You're also walking really fast, which makes me nervous because I'm like, if
I'm trying to keep up with
accept
your
mobility,
and I'm not yet. But watch. I look down a lot more.
Even I do.
Lighting has been an issue in some areas.
It's not like there's a lot of street lights. It's not really a lot. It's funny because at night in the like historical square, even though it was lit, it almost made you feel like it was gaslit or candle lit because it was like such a warm,
it was a glow
versus like lights,
Right.
Yeah. So I would say keep in mind for mobility issues that there is.
It might be easier to stay at an updated hotel.
Right. So there is a part of town where all the nicer hotels are. Yeah. And I noticed the sidewalks were a little bit flatter, or at least even if they were cobbly, they were even.
Yeah.
The roads were wider and stuff like that too. So that would be, you still want to go and see all the historical things, but that in that respect, that would be a safer place if you have to maneuver for grocery stores and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right. For Chichen Itza, you would have to go in through the exit to be able to you
go
couldn't
in.
do the stairs.
Yeah, you couldn't do the stairs there.
You'd have to go around.
So there are a lot of places where you don't necessarily see ramps, and then there's some places where it's all ramps.
All ramps, yeah.
One observation to piggyback off of that though is that the way they care about their elderly and the way they're assisting their elderly, whether they're related or strangers or whatever. If there's a abuela walking down the street, someone just walks up and cups her arm to guide, to help her, step down, because like I said, there's a lot of these step downs that just don't seem to have a purpose that we can understand. And so you'll see like a lot of, people kind of humping down it, and you'll just see a random person go up and assist the woman down the way or across the street, even blocking traffic to let
somebody through.
Yeah. There's buses that seem to be exclusively for older people.
I have seen that.
Maybe that is, while we haven't witnessed it yet, maybe that is something where there is the disability service, the mobility disability services are there, possibly related to that. I'll definitely be keeping more of an eye on that while I continue to be here. But that was an observation my husband had made right away. He's like, man, they care about their old people here, because if as an American you come here and you're like, old people would just perish after a while because the way to get around would be difficult. The community steps up and just takes care of them. And so there you see, like, even though a lot of the older people, you don't really see like hunched over old people like you kind of do in the state. You see like they're still kind of active, they're still walking around.
I see a lot more masks here. I think we should put that in there because that's
a good
because even on buses, even outside, a lot of people are wearing masks to protect people. And when prompted before, when I had this conversation with people from here, it's like, we're protecting our elders.
We want our elders safe. Yeah.
Unlike America, where hey,
it is very
it's a acceptable law.
It's not that everybody is wearing masks, but a lot of people are. And like when we walked up to when we were all wearing our masks and we walked up and people were coming to help us, they would be putting their masks off to approach us. So you just get the sense of just like
caring.
I care. I'm not judging.
Yeah.
Respect. Yeah.
For instance, like I went up to the Liverpool,
which is
store
like
at the mall, and started walking around the mall. And of course, the mall looks identical to a mall in the U.S. You've still got Sally Beauty, you've still got Dillard's, you still got all these stores you recognize. It's so
weird, there's a Dillard's.
But in the middle of the mall, there was an ice rink. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You got the young, active people out there. And then I went around the side of the ice rink, and there's this little section that's kind of like a dugout for storage. They had at least 80 of those fold-out lockers for older people to go hang out on the ice.
Yeah, that's fun.
I was like 80 of them just in a row. I thought they were like, chairs for convention. No, they're all fold-out lockers just neatly stacked up in the corner.
Oh, that's
so you can just fill the ice rink with
like a
whoever needs mobility help. I was like, holy crap.
That's right. Yeah, that's cute. You can immediately tell that they care about the elderly here. And it's not in your face in a way of just like there's signs or anything like that. No. It's just literally in the nature of the people.
Yeah,
reaching over, giving an arm or
they'll just come out of the restaurant, stop the traffic in the road, get the elderly person into their Uber, get the car backed up into traffic.
Direct traffic
and then release traffic, and nobody will honk.
No one honks.
Whereas anywhere else, the light
tries to go around,
and you're not on it, you'll get at least 2 cars on it.
That being said, like once the car back goes away,
then
it's
then
the traffic the driving
but
the patience in allowing for that kind of stuff. And
it's the best way I could describe it is they are aggressively polite. That is the best way. It's like, here, get out of my way. Oh, okay, you need some help.
Okay, let's go. I was like doing this stupid tourist thing where I got lost for a split second, and Sharmane's like, Shae, and I had stopped in the middle of the road, not realizing I had done that. And I turned around and it looked like I had annoyed somebody. I was like, lo siento, because I'm so sorry. I don't want to be that person. And he looked annoyed for a split second. He's like, oh, no, don't cry. No, it's okay. Like he looked like he was apologizing to me for me being up. I'm like, no, I was being an idiot. Like that type of thing. So, let's see. I haven't had heartburn. Since arriving.
The food is clean.
I have digestive issues along with some medical issues that make it like I take a lot of medication. I get heartburn in the United States from drinking water sometimes, but I cannot have juice in the United States.
It's actually something we've been talking about for months of like, you hoped you could eat here. You weren't even sure if you would be able to, and if this might be a miserable experience because you didn't know if you could eat here.
Right. Now, granted, I haven't gone too hot yet. I wanted to be
smart.
But I'm drinking juice every day. I found
juice
juice here is so good.
Yes, it's good.
I'm drinking it every single day. And normally I can't even think about orange juice without getting heartburn. And I'm having delicious juice.
The juice that comes in a box from the supermarket tastes like you just squeezed an orange. It's
and the last one observation is recycling is not as easy and accessible as I would really hope it to be.
They do it. It's just not easy. It's an extra.
You have to make extra steps, and I will take those steps. But
it's also compartmentalized, just like the grocery stores where you can't get pharmacy stuff at this grocery store. The glass goes to one spot. The cardboard might go to another spot. This spot might take only plastics 1, 2, and 5. So, and like there's a PDF printout of if it's this type of material, it goes to this address. If it's this type of material, these 3 places take it. I'll send it to you. I have it. But the thing is like 2 pages long of where.
But I would really like to make the effort.
Coming from Houston is a really hard place to recycle in. They had recycle centers, or you could pay like $25 a month for them to come to your house to do the recycle to pick it up. But
Apparently, they used to run carts here until the pandemic, and then they froze the carts, and they haven't started them back up. But they used to have carts collection.
I see.
But because of the pandemic, they said you bring it to us.
I see. Piggyback. Do you want to drop some observations of on this episode for Mérida?
I have not saw the video.
I'm sure you have, but
I mean,
mentioned
I
you.
used yours with about the abuelas, like how they treat the old people here. And stuff.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Oh, 3 people on motorcycles, including a baby.
that
Oh,
was
Jesus.
that was interesting. And
The lizard population is more present. in toilets.
the lizard population is thriving, I will say.
The toilet lizards are thriving. We've had more toilet lizards in Mérida than any place we've ever lived.
People are fucking
One of
nice.
mine piggybacks to both of the ones you
People are
brought
just
up.
fucking nice, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And,
helpful.
there seem like
Do you want to
there
come?
seems to be poverty here. Like clearly there's poverty here, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel nearly as desperate.
That's exactly
That-
what I just said. That's
So
literally
for
how I
those who not
started
by
it.
the mic, he said there is poverty here, but it's not nearly as
Like I said, people still seem like
desperate
as
as in
yeah. So that's exactly what I was saying. Like they still seem robust. They still seem
Right.
fed.
and they have access when in America there is no access.
Yeah, like
There is none.
they have help, it seems, and we don't know yet what that is. But like just immediately across the street, there
But it
is
w-
a house that's half house and half
Right.
nothing.
Well, on our way to
But they
I
seem
was
fine.
actually doing some research on that, and while they're saying like there's like this, of course, in American records they're saying no, it's worse here, it's worse in other. In the world, people looking at us, no, it's actually is felt worse in America than it is in
Yeah.
Mexico and other countries that I was looking at.
Because even in terms of that like American exceptionalism thing where you're just like, oh, like I can imagine seeing an American tourist in an Uber driving down any of the roads that we
Went to-
drove to, and they'll be like, oh my God, it seems so poor here. Like I can
It's
see
dirty.
that happening.
Yeah.
And when I see it, I'm like, it doesn't actually look as bad as Skid Row area of LA.
Well,
Right.
remember that when you guys weren't there for this, but when Jeff and I were driving to Houston with an Uber from the airport, we were going to where Sharmane and Tristan lived in that area because that's where our Airbnb was for the overnight for us to be traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got to the area and we were passing some very rundown houses,
Some-
people living there, you can
neighborhood.
clearly seeing that they were squatting and it looked very derelict and it looked like people were having a really hard time.
Yeah.
And when we got to our location, I was like, oh, which side is the thing? Which side is the address? The Uber driver who did not say one word to us, this black older man who did not said one word to say, stopped, turn around and you don't live here? And then we're like, no, you're visiting? Yeah. He's like, okay, you be very careful while you're here. You're in the hood. And I'm like,
Don't go out.
Having
don't
lived-
go out at night.
Having
No,
lived in the neighborhood, I would say it's hood adjacent, but
But-
I'm also a mixed black person who grew up in the hood. So like for me, where I lived wasn't nearly as desperate, but
but for me, everybody was lovely in
Mm-hmm.
your neighborhood.
yeah, my neighborhood was
I
great.
didn't have, but again, but to be fair, internets,
You were there for
we
24 hours.
do look like the type of people.
You look like white people who
would
stumbled into the
wander.
hood and you didn't
Mhm.
know where you were at.
I kind of get maybe where he may have been coming from, but it was
Yes.
just the shock
Yeah.
on his face.
I mean, you have
And
to
the
tell
act
them
and not he wasn't disgusted and he was legit
He was
concerned.
concerned. And you could have said, my friend lives
Right.
across the street or something like that. But
I didn't want to be like,
yeah, I know black people. But yeah, but yeah, that's a good parallel is like the desperation of some of the poor people that lived in the neighborhood that I lived in compared to
here.
the woman across the street who has
Mhm.
half a house.
Yeah.
Half
And
a
is
house
just
standing.
sitting on the porch enjoying life.
Yeah.
Cutting up
The Mormons
fruit
show up every night to read to her.
Oh, okay.
And she just sits there and listens to she doesn't seem desperate. She doesn't seem underfed. She smiles. She greets us every time we go outside.
Your neighborhood is so lovely here. I love coming to
so
visit you here.
it does feel less desperate, like we were talking about at the beginning. and, like,
Destitute.
yeah, it's not.
When I was in Houston going by, those people looked
Yeah, oh no,
sad.
we had
they
some
looked
very.
bereft.
It's
it's hard.
The homeless population in Houston is in really bad shape. There's very few services, and every time you saw a person, you weren't sure you were going to see them alive again.
So
So to be fair, that
So-
we're not experiencing that here. And I know we've only been here for a week, but it seems to be the same whether we're in my neighborhood, your neighborhood,
Right.
or the other neighborhoods that we've visited so far.
Yeah, so kind of tying in both the road conditions and walkway conditions, along with the eagerness of people to assist people getting in and out of cars that are trying to get around. One big thing that I would suggest is make sure that you plan extra time for going to and from events. So if you're gonna have dinner at 7 and it says it's a 15-minute drive, plan a half an hour.
Yeah.
Because your Uber driver may take more time to get to you for
a lot of
2
one-way
reasons.
streets.
Right.
And
all of the streets are
All
one
the
way.
streets are one way.
So they may make a square around you to come up from the south to pick you up and continue the right direction.
And if you're in Paseo de Montejo, which is a really nice neighborhood that we really enjoy, it's a very long stretch of a street where you can't just turn. You got to go way up the street, go through a roundabout and come back down the other way. So even if you're going just a few blocks that way, you would have to go further down to come back up.
Yeah.
So you do have to
It may take you. It often took my Uber about the same amount of time to get to me
as to get
to the
yes,
destination.
that's true.
And the reason why, guys, we weren't walking is one, the humidity is pretty high.
It's very it's very high.
And it is so easy.
The sun is intense,
and it's more intense. I'm trying to be kinder to myself, and also we're carrying stuff now. We're trying to get supplies for you and stuff. Like we're trying to be realistic.
And because of the condition, not the condition, like I'm saying it's a shoddy thing, but like because of the nature of the way the streets are built or the sidewalks are built, it's not really conducive to lugging bunch of shit about if you're walking around.
Yep.
Even if you had something that rolled.
Yeah. And like I don't have like necessarily mobility problems, but I have a difficulty walking long distances because I have flat feet. I have a jacked up
knee.
I have 2 jacked up knees, and then I have a janky Achilles on my left side. So I tuck her out and walking so quickly.
Right. Well, but the main thing is it's affordable for us to be able to.
You can,
the most expensive we spent is $5 for a 15-minute drive. When I know I can't even remotely do that for anything less than 40.
Right. 40. And even like I've mapped out if I were to go to an Uber to go to the Yuxmal, and one of the other temples that are here that's about 45 minutes away. On an Uber, that would be a $48 Uber to go an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In Houston, going to the airport could cost me, from where I lived, which was about 20 minute drive,
away,
could cost me anywhere from $29.99 to $50
or
something, depending on the time of day.
And just you renting a car was expensive.
Yeah, just renting a car for one day cost me near $300, and then I got 200 of it back, or I got like 100 and something of it back. There's a lot of things that are more affordable here. The things that are more expensive or importation costs is probably the reason why it is.
And then if you are going to walk around, like let's say you're more like me and you're active and you're like, hey, I'm going to walk around for the next couple of hours and get stuff done. It's not a problem. I enjoyed my walks downtown. A lot of the main streets have a lot of good foliage cover, so you're not just in direct sun the whole time.
Yeah, right.
But I do recommend bring a hat, a minimum of a ball cap to protect your nose, protect your ears.
And even sunscreen, because even for me, who have used to never burn, thanks to global warming, I now do.
Yep.
And if you can see this way,
we got.
I was outside for maybe 2 hours one whole day, and this is a 2 hour.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, you would put here, don't underestimate humidity.
Right, because when you're going around,
is exhausting.
If you're wearing a fanny pack with a cinched belt, or you're wearing one of those over the neck security pouches with your heavy coins, your money, your your passport in it under your shirt, swinging around, you're going to get chafing.
Yeah.
If you're not wearing a tank top under it to protect your chest,
Mhm.
You're probably going to end up with a rash.
You're gonna sweat every place that you didn't know you could sweat.
So wear light clothing.
And you have to
I was
reapply.
a huge fan of cargo shorts because I could put my phone charger in one, my earbuds, my house keys, my portable battery for my phone.
Yeah.
And it's still aired out. It's light. It's not sitting on my shoulders in a backpack, getting my back all sweaty. It's not in a fanny pack, getting my midsection sweaty and chafed. So just kind of think outside the box a little bit with that. Don't bring a whole bunch of heavy stuff with you unless you've got a nice, easy, airy way to put it that's not going to chafe. And I highly recommend bringing like talcum powder. If you need stuff for your feet, for blisters.
I wear the backpack. He carries the certain stuff, but I wear the backpack that has the baby wipes, the hand sanitizer. I'm not kidding. Yes, change of underwear sometimes, guys, and especially if you're doing a day trip,
just to feel clean.
Just because your sweat.
And you know, unlike Texas, when you go from hot to air conditioning, it's not a jarring amount of cold immediately. Like the air conditioning is nice, but it's not like in Texas, you go from extreme hot
to frigid.
To the freezing is cold.
Yeah.
And it's so jarring on your body.
And
it's not like
air conditioning is on and the windows or doors are open.
Yeah. Transoms everywhere.
That is a different thing for me. I'm not used to it.
It is very strange because you're still getting like a taste of the humidity, even if you're eating indoors and stuff like that. But it's not unpleasant. It's just an adjustment for that American mindset.
And even though like you're in the tropic area, you're not in the desert. Like I come from Phoenix. If you go outside for a couple hours, you come inside, it's obvious you need to drink water.
Yeah.
You need to drink water here, but you
don't
notice it.
Yeah, you don't know. You'll
like,
actually.
Why am I feeling lightheaded? Oh,
and then when you go to the bathroom and your pee is like as hot as it is outside,
it's much easier to overheat in humidity because your body doesn't sweat. Because it already feels that you're wet from the humidity, so it won't sweat. It's very easy to overheat and to get faint. Because there's a couple times, like in the last 2 days, like, whoa, I got dizzy for a split second. And it was because I wasn't, So
if they recommend a liter of water a day for you in America, I would say
gallon by.
I would say 2, 3. Yeah, like I don't like water. And I'm drinking way more water just to make sure that I'm hydrated enough. I'm drinking a lot of horchata, which is essentially mostly water because I'm mixing it with most.
For me, the easiest way I found to deal with it, since I forget to drink water or I'm just wandering in town, I don't have water on me. Anytime I stop to eat,
we're drinking a lot of
water. I'll order a water.
Yeah,
we'll do like a drink, like a lemonade or something, but we'll also
lemonade,
get water.
Chai, something that's liquid. Don't drink Fanta all day, please.
Yeah, don't drink sodas. You gotta be careful.
That's gonna be hard on me because I'm a soda. Yeah, I'm a soda hound.
But you're not doing that as much. I see you drinking other stuff that's not.
I'm trying. I'm actively trying because I can feel the heat and humidity and especially on my tongue. That's the indicator that I feel kind of dry tongue. And I'm like, fuck, I need to drink this nasty ass water. But
yeah, and then I think one of my last observations I had isn't really tied into all the others, like all the others are nice and intertwined. This one, I would say it's important to get to know the currency culture here in Mérida, particularly when it comes to things like tipping, because here the tipping is customarily a little bit lower. Like you know, in the U.S. it's like anywhere from 12-20%. Here, it's more like 10-15%. Yeah. If I give 20% on an Uber, I get a message back from the Uber guy going, holy crap, thank you so much for the extra money.
But to put it in context, a lot of the people here make about $10 US a day.
Yeah. Exactly. And what we forget is like in the US, we don't tip certain positions.
Yeah.
You don't go to Walmart
and tip
the cashier's bagger.
Yeah.
And here
I didn't know that. You should be tipping like 5 pesos per bag that the person bags. So if you get 4 bags of groceries, you should be giving them 20 pesos.
And I didn't realize that too.
And didn't have a clue. There's nothing that tells you that. There's no signs there. If you don't,
and they don't like
No.
You know,
Right.
like there's a lot of tourist places where like a person will literally hold their hand out and you know, oh, I gotta
here. If you don't know it, they just don't get their money.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that
And
makes me
that
feel
is
bad.
really.
So now, like learning that today, we're a week in.
You're like,
We're
oh
like,
my
oh,
God,
how
I'm a
many
jerk.
people? You know, like there's
Yeah.
like 30
how many people have I
you know,
insulted and they think I'm crazy American. Yeah.
Right.
We just
And
gotta
then-
know better to do better.
And then just like in the U.S., like if you're going to tip somebody, coins are better because Mérida is primarily a coin and cash-based society.
So that's an adjustment.
Less electronic. So
yeah.
it's more easy to go into your Uber app and say, oh, 15 and hit send. But if you give them 15 pesos,
It's a big deal.
that is
And I don't even know, like,
huge deal.
I've barely gotten change in coin form back, which I think is strange. Like, how do I get the coins
Yeah.
to get,
We're-
you know?
Jeff,
Yeah,
we
and
got-
that's why
we-
this morning I just pulled out a 200 pesos and said, I need coins. He's like, I'm like, propinas. He's and he brought
What's
me exactly.
Tips.
Propinas
Oh,
is
for
tips.
tip. Okay.
La propina.
La propina.
So he comes back with a few bills, breaking the 200 down, and then he's got the perfect set of 10s and 5s, but no 1s and no 2s.
Okay.
And when I was researching, okay, why did he give me only 5s and 10s? Well, if you tip in 1s and 2s, it can be considered an insult.
Oh.
Kind of like if somebody tips you in pennies in
Got
the US instead of leaving $1, it's an insult.
I see.
So if you're going to tip nothing less than a 5 peso
okay.
coin if you can absolutely help it.
But if you can
Or
do
make
10
it
or 20.
obvious that I really appreciate what you're doing. I only have small coins. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because
No.
I've been doing.
Otherwise, it's an
I've
insult.
been running out of 10s and 5s, so I've been making 15 out of 2s and 5s.
Oh,
Right.
I see.
But you
the
got to
ones.
make sure they understand it's not an insult.
It's not insult. Okay. I didn't realize that until
Say,
just
lo
now. So.
siento, you know, my coins are small. I appreciate your service.
Got it.
And then other than that, 5 pesos, 10 pesos for your average lift, and then, you know, tip your bagger. But there's more to it than that. Those are just like the big ones that I missed. So I would definitely recommend researching into the culture.
Yeah, that makes sense. It almost makes me wonder, like, should you tip the people who stop you on the street to help you? But I think that's just the culture. People are just nice and
that
stuff.
seems
But like,
to be just the culture.
that just seems to be the way that it is.
I got more studying to do, but so far that's just the culture.
All right. So my observation so far is the bathrooms here everywhere, whether you're at a pit stop on the side of the road on the way to the big temple, Chichen Itza, or you're at a nice restaurant, or you're at a hole in the wall restaurant. The bathrooms here are cleaner than any public bathrooms I've ever been to in the US, in the UK,
Easily.
in Canada, in France.
I will agree with
in
this
the
statement.
Bahamas.
Yep.
This is one of the big ones that smacked me in the face of just like, fuck American exceptionalism. You know, like that they've told, like people have been telling us, you know, why are you going to Mexico? Mexico's dangerous. Da 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 da. Besides the research about Mérida being a safe place or whatever, but some of the things that people say, it's like it's dirty, it's poor, it's this, it's that.
It smells musty. We're in the forest, asshole.
Yeah, like it's literally a humid tropical place.
It's called dirt.
Yeah, and it's not even that bad.
It's
like
not.
I was expecting from what I heard that it was like really bad, but like most
I
of the
haven't
smells
noticed.
have been
Now,
fine.
granted, I haven't been everywhere,
Sure.
right? We're talking about Mérida right now. I'm sure there's some shitholes, like there's shitholes everywhere.
Sure.
But literally, like on our way to Chichen Itza, we went through some towns that were less affluent,
Very rural
and,
places.
and even though it
There's
didn't
no
have a
smell.
toilet seat, it was extremely clean.
Yeah. So that's the thing is some public bathrooms only have the rim of the toilet.
Yeah.
Which for me was like I guess this means I have to hover, you know, like kind of a thing. But again, hole in the wall.
Pristine.
Clean
place.
floors.
The floor was
Floors
clean.
clean,
No
no
trash
trash,
on the
no
on the
trash
floor.
on the
Actually,
floor.
no trash like
Ever.
in the streets.
I don't
really.
even see it either.
There's a little bit here and there, like
I
off of
think
a
most
side
of
street.
the street trash and
It's
the,
been
and the
moved.
dirtiness feel that we see down here is tourism.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. Because like because there's not a whole lot of public trash. There are public trash cans, so there's not a whole
And
lot
you have
of
to know
them.
what to look for. They're not just on the street corners in front of
Right.
each store.
They're more
we
like
see at home.
indent, like in
Yeah.
like if there's a store here and there's a cutout to get to the store, it'll be around there.
Right.
It won't
Or
be
they'll
on the
have, like,
street.
designated trash piles in a way.
Right. And so there's like if you do see a street trash bin, it'll say organica, inorgánica.
Yeah.
So like your food based stuff or your plastics and paper trash or something like that. But it's just generally really clean everywhere you go. Even if like the buildings around you might look run down,
the insides will be nice.
There's a lot of mold, so you will see like paint chipping, or you'll see mold or
in
whatever.
This type of humidity
we're in this kind of climate, so there's that. Where I would say that like your garden variety American tourist would be like, yeah, like, but it's literally like
the airport in Dallas was disgusting.
Yeah, the bathroom in Dallas was disgusting. And then you come here to Mérida, we went to the bathroom immediately before we started customs.
And it was very lovely.
Yeah, and I didn't even, like at first I was like, oh, at least that was a clean bathroom.
Like I felt like I needed to pay the toilet.
I know, it's really, really clean. So I was really stunned because I've never been to a place where like, there hasn't been a single one. And like yesterday was maybe the dodgiest looking bathroom at the little hole in the wall geek burger joint.
Yeah.
Literally still like one of the cleanest bathrooms. It's just that it was a little dim. Like the lighting was a little dim.
Well, the whole place was dim.
Yeah. And it's like such an old space that's what you were looking at. It wasn't that it felt unclean. I haven't had a sticky floor.
No, none.
None.
I can't even
or
tell.
a wet floor.
Or
nothing.
Overflow trash.
Nothing. Everything. And again, I don't. And the reason, and this is confronting our
Americanness. Yeah.
Well, we've been told a lie, and we're confronting. I mean,
it was just one of the ones that made me realize. Yeah. Turn off what you've been told. Like turn off the thought process, because it really everything I'm witnessing so far, and no exaggeration, because I'm not really prone to exaggeration. No, everything I'm witnessing so far undoes some belief that at some point was instilled in me.
Yeah.
Because of American exceptionalism. And that was a conversation we had a few episodes ago where I was like, I don't feel very American because I'm not treated very American in America.
Right.
But I know that my Americanness will come out.
Yes.
I just don't know how it's going to come out. And the way that stuff is being undone so quickly, where it's just like, all right, stop thinking about that. Just don't think about it this way. So that the bathrooms, that was one of the really, really key ones that got me. I also said the no heartburn thing, and I will add to that no itis. So I'm a Black person. I will eat till I get the itis. That makes me get sleepy. That gives me a 3-hour salt sleep nap.
Yeah.
And then I'll feel just sluggish and stuff like that. We've had meals that we have eaten a lot of food. It might be a little bit tired, but that feels more like humidity tired.
I think it is more
than the
because we're go. Then we're sitting and we're eating.
But even in meals where we've adjusted a lot of meat, I don't know how to describe how plain the meat is. You don't have that crash
sensation.
You don't have the crash sensation, and maybe it's the difference between like what the food animals are fed here versus in America.
Yeah,
it's so clean.
I feel like we're tasting the food.
You're tasting. Okay, so one of the things, especially for our Black and brown audience, where you may hear that the food's not very seasoned here. That is true-ish.
Yeah. But
it's more that like whatever they're doing to the food preparation, they're enhancing the way the meat itself tastes.
Right.
And I like meat like that from the Japanese side. That's usually how we do it too. But that being said, as a Black person, I also like really
true.
seasoned meat and stuff like that. And there are some, like the nachos we had today, that was hella seasoned, but I didn't feel sluggish after, where I would have felt sluggish even if I made a plate of my own home nachos. I would have felt way more sluggish back in the States than I do in this. And I'm telling you, like, it was a huge platter of food. Portions are either really, really large or really, really just fine.
Perfect.
But you don't feel more full or less full.
No.
Which is so strange that because today for breakfast, I just had a single piece of bread, French toast with a bunch of fruit on top. I felt as satisfied there as I did when I had a big old plate of nachos at lunchtime.
Right.
I just feel like the food is just so much less processed. You're going to eat processed foods. There's nothing necessarily wrong with processed foods. It's just that so much of what is processed
Even the
way
processed
foods
foods taste different. Doritos are not the same, y'all.
Doritos don't
No.
taste the same here. Yeah.
No, they're thicker. They're
Coke is not the
crunchier.
same.
Cocoa.
Even the Coke without the sugar added is not the
It's
same.
not the same. Like
Gatorade
the
is
way
different.
they will poison us in the U.S. for
Right.
processed
For
food
no problem, yeah.
is the processed food here is not doing that, and it's so weird. Like I haven't felt food related sluggishness one day since we've been here, except the first day we got here because we pounded some smash burgers right before we got on the plane.
We
That's
did
true.
eat a lot of crap.
We had travel food.
We had travel food on travel.
Yeah,
day.
after Wendy's breakfast.
Yeah, we had a Wendy's breakfast and we had smash burger and stuff like that. But like ever since we got to Mérida, every bit of food that we've had has been delightful, delicious, and that piggybacks into I'm a tea drinker. I'm British. I'm Japanese. Tea is almost ritualistic for me, and I prefer loose leaf tea to bag teas because bag teas are usually like the flakes of tea leaves, not necessarily tea leaves themselves. And I brought tea bags with me because it was easier to travel with, but I've been looking to have like a proper cup of tea, loose leaf tea. And the restaurant we went to today, the tea was made before it came to my table. So it wasn't like a reluctant. So in America, it's always hard to get tea in a restaurant because they're like, oh, I got to bring you the water and then I got to bring you the bag. And they just plunk the bag in and stuff like that. And tea is never pleasant in the States where I drink it British style. So it's important that it's more, more of a ritual, more of a like way of life type of thing. Here, the way they prepared the tea, like I could watch them from across the way preparing my tea. They had it was loose leaf. They had it in an extractor. They let it sit and steep before they brought it to me.
And it's not everywhere.
It's not everywhere, but this place in particular did it.
It was very impressed.
So I finally, after 5 days, had a good cup of tea. I hadn't ordered it anywhere else because I was just like,
fish restaurant.
Oh yeah, I did have it, and that was fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
This was impressive.
This was the way I was like, oh, finally
This
tea.
was very impressive.
So I feel like it was taken very seriously here, and also it's just like the thoughtfulness is the way like all the food is prepared and the drinks are prepared. Every restaurant we've been to that was Mexican food has a little lady in the corner literally making the tortillas that are coming to our tables right after.
Tip them.
Tip them as well. So we're having like the freshest of tortillas that we could possibly have. So I would say, okay, my first two bathrooms, the food, the tea, traveler diarrhea. It's real. Even if it's not like we're eating fine, we're eating healthy, we're, things like that. It's just that there are some biological things that are a little bit different here that you have to adjust. Your stomach has to adjust to. Yeah. And so while we are eating clean and everything like that, things are a little bit softer. Right. Tum issues a little bit, but it's not bad. It's not uncomfortable. It's not nearly as bad as it feels so fanciful, like to make this a thing, but like, it's not like it's not like even the mildest diarrhea I've ever had in the US. It's literally just like things are a little bit softer. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like what I've noticed is because I had travel sickness as well.
But you also suffer from something every day at
right.
home.
But when I was having that day where I was like, I feel like crap. If I was in the US, the only way to not make it worse would be I would have to change my diet
entirely
to like chicken noodle soup, rice, Gatorade, and saltine soda crackers.
Not eat for an entire day.
Yeah. When I was having the issue down here, if I went and had deep fried shrimp at a restaurant, it didn't make anything worse.
It didn't make it worse, yeah.
It still continued to get better at that slow. It took 30 hours.
Yeah.
There's different biomes down here. There's different bacteria down here. There's different stuff. Also, walking around and doing stuff. Also, humidity is going to. People are like, oh, what is humidity? It has a lot. Lots of things can affect your digestive tract.
Yeah.
Right, 'cause
there's
your
different
digestive
medications
tract
that
has
you know,
flora in it.
Yeah.
So
Bacteria.
So if you're traveling here, bring your Imodium, bring your
Mhm.
Pepto, whichever it is
Bring
the thing that you
ahead of
normally
time.
use.
Ahead of time.
Like bring it
they
with
don't have
you.
lactate here, guys. So if you
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, you at least travel here with it. If you're gonna be like me and you're gonna transition to move here, you just have to learn what the equivalent is. So like today I learned what the equivalent of like an Imodium would, so I can go there and get it to help me
Mhm.
transition out of this
Yeah.
period of time. But I feel like, another week or so of eating like this, things will probably
I think it'll just
shake itself out.
because
I'll
as
get
we were
used to it.
saying, I think we were tasting things that I feel like things are a little bit more sweeter or a little bit more saltier
Yeah.
than I'm used to. Maybe that's also
both things are happening. So
yeah.
anything that you expect to be a certain kind of sweet is going to be more sweet here. Everything that you expect to be a certain kind of salty is going to be a little bit more salty here.
Yeah.
I would say ignore all of the Yelp reviews where American tourists are saying like the
bitching
food
about
is gross
something.
because it's too salty or it's too sweet.
Yeah.
It's literally the palate of the place here, or like the fact that the sugar is so clean. And the
Yes.
the
Yes.
raw sugar,
The
or
raw sugar
or
is
that the
more-
salt. So the water here, you do drink bottled water here. You don't drink from the sink, but that has more to do with the salt
There's salt
content
yeah.
of the water here. So you don't want to be drinking ocean water. It's not that salty. You can like brush your teeth and kind of get a hint of the salt taste, but not
Yeah.
a lot. But you don't want to swallow it because you don't want to fill your stomach with salt water.
And you'll
So-
dehydrate yourself.
And then
make
you'll
all of your
dehydrate
time
yourself. So
getting worse, yeah.
So for here, like when you hear, so that again, that would be another lie that's similar to the like it's so dirty here or whatever. You don't drink the water here because the water's dirty. You don't drink the water here because it's got a high salt content,
Right.
which is not good for humans.
Right.
So you have to have clean distilled water.
And it's
Um,
also cheaper for them to not desalinize the entire water going
Waters-
through the infrastructure.
Yes.
When you're only
When
drinking a certain amount
a
of
certain
it.
percentage is
So
being used
that's
for
what
that.
makes so much sense about it,
Yeah.
because while it is different for you as an American to come here and rather than turn on the sink, you have a water pump,
Yeah.
water bottle that you pump and get the water out of.
Mhm.
Or like in the States, we would have had the water coolers where you just turn the big thing over.
Right. And
Here
you can't
we
just
don't-
plug the house water into the back of the fridge.
And you're
Right.
not putting
You
the
have to
yeah.
fill the fridge.
We
You have to
have,
fill
and
the
we
fridge.
do have a fridge in our place that you put the cup in, it gives us water, but we put bottled water. It's
Into
really
it.
cool.
Yeah.
It's actually
Yeah.
built
It's
in.
got a
and
little
it's
reservoir
thing,
built into the door.
and it
straight.
keeps it nice
Yeah.
and freaking cold. Yeah.
So while it is an adjustment of behavior,
Yeah.
it doesn't not make sense. So it
Mhm.
doesn't seem like even after a week, I don't feel like
Yeah.
I'm put out because I
No.
can't drink out of the sink.
It's
I don't
not
like
an
to drink
extra
out of the
errand.
It's
just
not an
different.
extra errand. It's just different. So you would get a service to have water delivered. I'm in an Airbnb that all I have to do is about a day or two before mine runs out, let them know, and they bring me another one. And
And-
they just put it up for me and everything. I
And
didn't have
we
to do
have
anything.
a 7-Eleven version
Also,
OXO on the corner, which is literally 2 houses away.
Yeah.
Which is
24/7.
24/7.
Yeah.
We can get snacks, food,
And
and
then-
water.
And the nice thing about the Oxos is they're
Everywhere.
kind of they're everywhere. They're pretty much every street corner. If you go to
That's also where you
laundromat,
pay your
you
bills.
can usually find
You
one
pay
right
your
across
bills
the
there, yeah.
street. They pay your bills there, but they also tend to have like the emergency supplies that you might need as a
Okay.
traveler: baby wipes, Pepto-Bismol, tampons,
Okay.
all those
Toothpaste,
kinds
maybe.
of products, toothpaste.
Band-Aids.
Band-Aids, you
Yes,
can
ma'am.
get those at those little stores
Okay.
at the Oxo.
Yeah, I haven't been to one of those
Not
yet.
Tylenol. I
Not-
did see the
Not
Pepto
Tylenol.
you
Bismol.
You gotta go to
cannot
a
get
pharmacy
the
for any kind of
We
medicine.
did see
Get that ahead of
Pepto.
time.
Didn't we see Pepto Bismol?
They had Pepto-Bismol
Which would
at
throw us
the
off.
Oxo, yes.
So to wrap up, I think my last major thing, because you said the heartburn thing already, and I agree with that, is that again, it just feels so fanciful. Like the level of stress in being here is so small compared to
Mhm.
like you are a foreigner in a country. They speak a different language than you, whether or not you're trying to learn it or whatever.
Right.
I don't feel lost.
No.
I don't feel
Mhm.
trapped.
No.
I don't feel like I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Someone somewhere will
Will
see
help
my
you.
face and walk up to me and ask if I need support, whether I'm in a store or on the street. Like that what happened last night. Our Uber driver dropped us a little bit away from the restaurant, and we couldn't identify the restaurant because not every restaurant will like
Has a
have a
sign.
sign. So that is
Right.
something that might be a little bit different. So we thought we were in the wrong place. So we Googled it, and Google told us to walk 3 minutes away. So we went there, didn't see anything else. Started messaging you. You guys said you were there. We're like, okay, we don't see you. And then a guy just walks up to us and says, where can I help you get to?
Yeah.
And he didn't speak much English and we didn't speak much Spanish, but between us, we worked it out. And then he explained where to go. We went back the way we came, found you guys sitting outside. And it was just like, my concern was sending you a pin to my location, being like, let's figure out if we could track each other. But since you guys are Android people and we are iPhone people, we couldn't communicate. Like I couldn't see your location from where I was and stuff like that. So that made it hard between us.
Yeah.
Right.
But a random guy on the street just says, hello, where are you? What are you doing here? You know, like, what do you know, like, what help do you need? And it's always with a smile. And then it was almost like, then he thanked us, even though like we're thanking him, but he was like, thank you. And it seemed more like, thank you for giving me the experience to talk to a foreigner kind of a thing. That's not what he said, but that was the vibes. So I just feel like
they're so happy to help you. Like I went to the supermarket, and was going around and trying to find something, and I had a really poor cell signal at the time. I hadn't rebooted my phone, and it hadn't kicked over to the local towers. So it was sitting at like one bar to Telmex, and I'm not able to use the Google Translate because it's like network error. You know, if you didn't download it offline ahead of time. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm going to worker trying to find this stuff.
Ayuda. That's an important word to know.
What I'm after. And they finally like, Carlos, you know, and Carlos comes in. It's like, yay, what's up? And he's like, English.
Blanco.
Like, I lived in Tennessee for a year. What do you need?
That's hilarious.
He's like, okay, you need anything.
Well, isn't
from
it
the
weird
store,
that the
you
Uber
call
driver
me.
today was like Houston, and I'm like Houston.
He
Like
goes NASA.
Like,
I'm like yes.
Like what made him pick Houston out of the thing? And I was like, yeah, I actually am. That's where I moved
But
from.
he's obviously he likes NASA.
Yeah, he seemed to like. He seemed to like NASA.
they
Also, the
love
best part
helping.
about that, he's like American TV. Because he was trying to let us
He
know
says
that
he doesn't speak
speak
English,
English
but
very
the
well.
word he knew well was.
And he paused for dramatic effect, and then all of a sudden he goes, as he's driving, shit, and we're like, what? Oh, ha! And then we all laugh.
We all started laughing. Yeah.
He's like American TV, and we're like, yes.
So even if people don't speak English and you don't speak enough Spanish, somehow we managed to communicate. There's never been one person that was like, sorry, can't figure it out, I gotta go.
Right.
Where that would 100% happen in American.
Yeah.
Right, because I've had days where I was feeling sick, had to leave and go home and leave the group and say, you know what, I'm gonna go take a nap. I don't feel well. And the next day it was, okay, I've got to go do this laundry. I've got to go find this because my sunglasses broke in half.
Yeah.
I got to go to 3 or 4 different pharmacies to try to find, you know, lactate is what I was looking for at the time, among other products. That none of those days felt stressful. They felt worksome because I wasn't feeling well.
Yeah, the only time you've had stress had nothing to do with being here.
Work called me.
Yeah, work called you.
Your
that
phone
was my
work.
most
My phone didn't
stressful
work, yeah.
day. Is I had to do work.
Yeah.
And so I went to go get you cat supplies because you'd spent over half of the day trying to figure out why your phone wouldn't work here.
Yeah.
And literally, guys, they're doing Spanish a lot better than I am. And I literally walked up to this person. I said, English, but it just question mark. And they went, no. And I went, okay, ayuda. And she went, claro. And she followed me and we figured it out. And and it was amazing.
I mean, it's not that I don't imagine the local people probably don't want as many Americans or expats here. We have seen one bit of graffiti that said Mérida no es Blanco. Fair. I mean, the way that Americans travel and stuff like that.
No, and we've seen people being out of pocket.
We have seen Americans being
out of pocket
Yeah,
here,
you got
guys.
the guy at the counter like, why isn't my order out here? Just crossed arms, totally defensive posture. I'm like, I'm in my head going, take a seat.
Take it, like, calm the fuck down. Yeah. So, you know,
don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Be thoughtful. Understand that you are the foreigner. I do hear Western travelers say, I'm in a foreign country. I mean, even if that's technically correct,
Yeah.
You are the foreign element.
You are a guest in someone else's
Yes.
home. I'm looking right at the camera and I'm looking at my people of the palm color variety. I need you to stop acting like white people in the United States. And I would also like you to stop acting like white people.
Yeah.
Outside of the United States. This needs to stop.
So, okay. So random little observation. We did go to one white restaurant establishment. It was a Irish pub chain, a global chain called Hennessy's. It was diagonal across the street from the museum that we were at. Immediately walked in. Besides myself and the wait staff, everybody was white.
Mhm.
Which should have immediately made us turn around, but we were hot and tired.
The food was the least delicious food
yeah.
of all the food we've had so far. But the vibe inside, because of the tourists, like, it's not like any tourist was behaving badly. It's just the immediate vibe of just like, these are the people that I exist around all the time. Just like the way people kind of talk and stuff like that. Like
how impatient they
how
were.
impatient. And I'm
how
dealing
demanding of the staff they were.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like, and maybe that's why they hover at that restaurant, because no one hovers at other restaurants.
Yeah,
but
they hovered.
the wait staff hovered at the tables, and I think they did that because
It's all
it made
tourists.
so much sense that English, Australian, and American white tourists were at that place, because it's like, maybe this is close to home type of thing. And maybe the staff there feel like they need to be there because the vibe of the people. I would say of anything we've experienced so far, that was the least pleasant place, even though nothing bad happened. It was just like, these are the people I don't want to be associated
the
with.
staff still had that helpful feeling.
Yes.
But they were on
with
it.
that,
They were on edge. They were on edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
that wasn't us just look at whatever.
It
they
didn't
were
have
on
the
edge.
relaxed feel.
it didn't. Yeah. Whereas everywhere else does.
Like even that hotel where it was fancy.
Fancy. Yeah.
Like fancy.
We went to
3
one really
courses,
fancy places.
Course setting, course, post court, appetizer.
They still hung out away.
It was very chill.
Yeah.
They didn't rush us to do anything.
And we lost the light.
I guess we're
so that's the way that we'll wrap up is just like, as an American or Western tourist,
be considerate.
Be considerate
Please.
and realize that you are the foreign element.
Yeah.
So your behavior is the behavior that needs to adjust, not the behavior of the people that exist there already.
Yeah.
Do a little fucking research before you go anywhere to kind of get understand what stuff is like at the place.
And be flexible,
going.
because even that research.
Being flexible, because like there's some stuff you just don't know. Like, I didn't learn until I got here that they don't have a mail service that technically works in the way
that we
would expect. It works the way that it works
for them,
and it works for them.
Right.
Yep.
But we would be the ones that need to adjust.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest thing is that the experience I'm having with other tourists, not as pleasant.
Yeah.
The experience that I'm having with the Maya people here and the Mexican people here,
absolutely outstanding,
amazing. And I've never felt so.
I don't feel like we deserve it.
I don't.
It's me personally. I don't think that we deserve being treated this nicely, considering how wretched.
I would say that this is one of the first times I've traveled somewhere where I don't feel like I'm imposing. Even though technically I guess I am, because I am a Westerner, I am a foreigner here, but I'm also an American, where it carries an elite status that is unearned. I feel like, you know what it feels like? Have you ever been invited to dinner at like a friend's family member's house and they're like, yeah, just bring your friend?
Yeah.
And you're just like, but they don't know me. They're like, so what? Just come, bring your friend. That's what it feels like. It feels like I'm at like my friend's Tio's house, and
they're being great to you,
and they're just being
and you're
super
like,
sweet.
This is not how it is at home.
You're like, but this is Christmas. I can't come to your family's house at Christmas.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like.
And they got you a sweater.
And
right?
They somehow already have a gift for me.
Yeah.
It really has been like that, and I don't want to exaggerate or make it feel more fanciful than it is. I'm sure there are people who have had
horrible experiences,
more negative experiences and things like that. But and I'm not saying that I don't think I won't.
Well, right. I'm sure we'll meet someone who I can't stand us.
But so far it's been so wonderful, and I can already feel that like I could settle into a life here, and I just want to continue to do my best to assimilate to the culture, the dominant culture, and protect it in the best way that I can, and not exploit it in any way beyond, I guess, my presence kind of.
Oh, I'm telling the
naturally.
internet's
Yeah.
about it.
And then consider and comprehend that there is a difference between poor and trashy, and make
True.
sure that you are not being the trashy tourist.
Yeah, no, that is correct. Yeah.
That'll keep you out of trouble.
That'll keep you out of trouble. And so don't forget to follow us on our social media, Instagram, TikTok, at Queer Far Pod. And if you want to drop some coins in the tip jar, you can go to our coffee page, ko-fi.com/queerfarpod. Is that it?
Well, thank you for being here, Jeff.
Thank you for being here, Jeff. My Blanco Hermano.
We are waxed.
Vaxxed and trying to unpack.
Want to go get some food?
Yeah,
I'm
let's
starving after that.
go. All right, let's go.
Hasta luego.
Queer and Far is a ManeHustle Media Podcast, produced and edited by Sharmane Fury. Co-hosted by Sharmane Fury, aka daBlasianBlerd, and Shae Nahnigans. Music is Big Band Savage Jazz by Pine Groove. If you like what you've heard on Queer and Far, please subscribe, rate, and review on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. ManeHustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.